Hey, welcome everybody to the Wednesday show. I'm your host as always. Find me on Twitter at MikeKilly. With me is my co-host Mike Bristano, Bonzo1273. You can find him on Twitter as well. This is the Wednesday show, our weekly Browns podcast. And we're still mathematically, in the hunt. It's technically possible with some things going right our way this weekend. Who knows? But we're gonna need some help. But I think it's technically possible. Mike, how are you feeling right now after the two back-to-back losses, where we had like a 40% chance to make the playoffs? Now we're down to like 12 to win the division, like 7 or something like that to just make it outright or as a wild card.
Yeah, past two games have been rough. I mean, you look at, I'm sure we'll dive into it in a little bit, but you look at them altering the playbook, if you will, on when and how you could come back from COVID, vaxxed, unvaxxed, and just so convenient. After we just went through what we went through. I mean, if you figure if we had those rules, if you will, in place, I mean, the majority of our guys are back for the Raiders, and I would say, I mean, bar maybe 1 or 2, we would have had everybody back for Green Bay as well. And I, I'll get more into it as we go, but I get it. I had some conversations, on Twitter today, and and I get it. I understand. Things change. CDC had their new guidelines, etc., and that's fine. However, there's 2 weeks left in the regular season. So, just ride out what you got for the next 2 weeks. And then if you want to rewrite the playbook and then, for the playoffs, say, okay, it's a new season. And now, with the new guidelines, this is what it's going to be, going forward. I think that would be fair and equitable. I think what has happened right now, 2 weeks after, pretty much decided our fate, unless things fall our way the rest of the way. But I don't know. To me, it didn't feel right.
Yeah, it's like just stick with something, because you're trying to create parity, right? You're trying to make it fair for everybody in the league, and you can't do that if you've got one set of rules 1 week and then CDC changes something. And you're like, okay, the next week, it's like, okay, well, anybody who didn't get COVID this week or the week before, whatever, but anybody, moving forward, you're fine. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. It just makes no sense. And especially with the, you had, so you look at Indianapolis, right? And you look at Carson Wentz. So, he's unvaxxed. That's his right to be. And, and I'd be lying to you if I knew exactly, where in the, in the playoff realm of making it and not making it, the Colts fall into. But regardless, you take a guy like that, just test positive, and really he's out for a while because he's unvaxxed. However, conveniently, and that goes for Cole Beasley as well, but then conveniently, the rules and the playbook have changed, and then, boom, all of a sudden now, it doesn't even matter. Vaxxed, unvaxxed, 5 days from now, he falls into that window. So if he doesn't have any symptoms, he's good to go. And now with this new rule, and you would hope that guys would be honest and proactive, but I'd have to go out on a limb and say, a sniffle here or a cough every now and again, probably not going to be.
Yeah, they'll hide that.
Yeah, they're not coming out and saying, hey, coach, hey, trainer, hey, whoever, I've had the sniffles for the past 5 hours and a slight little cough. Not happening.
No, not at all. Not at all. Really quick, Ryan Burlow, Tyrone, Let's Go Fishing TV. What's going on, Mike? Ryan Burlow, Derek Jones, Greg Smith's in the house. I want to say what's up to all y'all. Thank you guys for being here on the Wednesday show. If I can get Mike, I don't know. just one scene. It just drives me crazy when I'm just like one thing off. Lots to talk about today.
Yeah.
Lots to talk about. First things first. We're still kind of pushing the GoFundMe for Mike McFadden. So guys, if you haven't had a chance to donate yet and you find it in your heart to do so, let me go ahead and put the link in chat for everybody. We're up to $8,900.
Getting there.
8,900, and Mike texted me, and I think he put it on Twitter as well, what his bills are going to be. It looks like $19,750 is what his bills are, and let's try to get as close to that as possible because those are killer. So
yeah, and that was, if I remember correctly too, that was pre-dental and pre-surgery. So I mean, it's a big burden.
Sure, there's more to come. So,
yeah.
But we're getting a lot of love. People on Twitter are pushing it. Every day we're getting more and more. So let's just keep going, guys. Anybody out there who happens to want to toss a couple bucks at it, good cause, and let's help him out. Couple of other things going on. Ryan Burlow says Kansas City should beat Cincinnati. Rams should beat Ravens. Well, I was talking to my dad about this earlier today. Kansas City beating Cincinnati. The way Cincinnati's playing right now, I don't know. I mean, I know they're basically playing against what the Browns typically had to throw out there when you've got a third string quarterback because of COVID and because of this and that and injuries. So the Ravens finally had to feel what it was like to put your team out there. And luckily we hadn't gotten destroyed like that by a team, when we had our COVID situations. At least we kept our games close. Yeah. But I think that Kansas City Cincinnati game could be interesting. The Rams should beat the Ravens, but depends who's at quarterback. I mean, if Marty McSorley's out there, or no, it's not even Marty McSorley. It's Josh Johnson. So
yeah,
who knows?
Blast from the past.
Who knows? And then Ryan Burlow also said that in my YouTube feed says Baker has death threats. Had death threats. That. I mean, Emily. So did you see Emily Mayfield's Instagram story that said it? Like, it just kind of like casually threw it in there. It wasn't like, hey, we're getting death threats, everybody chill out. It was like, we're doing all this stuff and blah, 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 and death threats, blah, blah. It's like, wait, hold on, what?
That and the lies, which I think we know what she considers the lies.
I think, yeah,
if a certain factory of
not sadness,
cheese, but yeah. But I digress.
Yeah, right. I mean, here's the situation. I mean, it's weird. I was actually thinking about that today, just randomly. But yeah, I mean, that's all that stuff. Let's go. Let's say that the whole Cheesecake Factory thing was fake.
Right.
Which it
could have been.
Which it 100% could have been. But let me ask you this then: What were the pictures she was showing those guys, when she went on that radio show? Because she showed them something. She showed them obviously there were some receipts, right? Yeah. So there were text messages or a chat log in some sort, maybe on Instagram DMs or something. And there were photos to say like, look, this isn't just like some random guy. Now, that being said, there's a lot of technology that can be used to fake a whole lot of stuff. Number one. But if they're looking at her phone and it is legitimately the verified Baker account who's messaging her, and I don't use Instagram like that. I don't even know if you can send a photo direct message to somebody. I don't know, or maybe you have to take it offline. You got to go to text. But it was enough that they were like, it's legit. I mean, because they would have said like, get out of here, skank, you're a liar. But they didn't, right? So yeah, somebody's lying.
Yeah, somewhere along the line,
someone's lying. But yeah, the death threat situation is. I mean, I don't know. Like you said.
Yeah, I mean, and that's interesting too because I don't
really.
Look, with some of our fan base, I don't believe that it's not possible.
Okay.
I wonder.
I'm with you on that. I mean, there's always
It's
weirdos.
possible, but I wonder how. And and again, I'm not saying anybody is lying or whatnot, but
Right.
sometimes things could be exaggerated. I haven't seen anything on Twitter that looked like someone was really going to go off the deep end and then go and throw a threat out there. I don't know how the threat, whether it was through you know, a direct message but I mean, I don't even know, because you can't direct message people that you don't follow, or, that don't follow you back.
Or was it just said in general?
Was it? Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Like on Twitter, like, but even, yeah.
But that's what you were saying too, to your point is, we don't, it was very vague. So we really don't know, what exactly, where it happened, how it happened. But again, I mean, I'm sure it probably did happen, but I don't know.
Death threats it was.
Yeah,
right?
true.
So she was saying there were multiple threats that were being used. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it happened, maybe it didn't. There are a lot of Baker haters out there, and here's the situation. And I think a lot of this, it's not just like fans like you and me, right? I think there's like a couple different layers of fans. Number one is the casual fan. Maybe they live in Cleveland and go to a game once in a while, but they're not emotionally invested, right? Yeah. I think that similarly, it's, I think the next step up would be like where my wife is, where it's like she's sad if they lose, but it's not going to ruin her day. I mean, actually, right. she's not emotionally invested, so I put her in that first category, right?
Yep.
Right. Second category are people like you and I who spend money on the merch, season tickets, travel to the games, and then even the amount of time that we're spending dedicated to this.
Yeah, true.
Right. And then you have like a different, and I think that's kind of it. It's like, are you emotionally invested or are you not? That's kind of like the line that gets drawn, right? And then but then you have the sports bettors, and the sports bettors could be Browns fans, and they could bet on the Browns, or maybe they're fantasy football guys, right? And they're like, well, I have Baker, and he's not scoring points, so I'm losing my fantasy game and I'm losing my Browns games.
And to your point, we don't know specifically if it's actually a Browns fan. It could be, an account with 2 followers under the guise of, a Browns fan, but it could just be some lunatic, to your point, that, had money on it.
Yeah.
And lost out. And now I don't know. I'm sure it probably happened, but I don't know.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it on there either. And not to say that it doesn't happen. I mean, I think I just read a story the other day where people were, a dude just got arrested hanging outside of, maybe it was Kylie Jenner's house, one of the Jenner girls. So, I mean, there's people that are out there that do crazy things, and I'm sure, that it probably happened. But I mean, it's probably just some stupid, idiot, for lack of a better description there, that, just does it for shits and giggles. You know what I mean? I don't even think that it's not like
well, there's credible threats, right? Credible threats. Right. And then there's like somebody, who would just throw it out there randomly. Maybe somebody who's emotional. But I don't know. I feel like you and I, and I'm not saying we scour the internet, right?
Right. We're on there a good bit though.
But we're on it quite a bit. And we're fairly like well connected within the community.
I would say we fall into the who's who of Brown's Twitter, most definitely.
Okay. And we also, basically my whole Twitter feed is almost all Brown stuff. And if it's not, if people get into politics or anything like that, and it's not related to sports, I usually just mute them or unfollow. So
right.
Basically my whole algorithm, my whole spider web of influences related to Browns, and I've never seen anything like that. So that's just me personally, but I'm not the one. I'm not on Instagram, doing that kind of stuff. I don't know. I don't know the answer. I think it'd be unfortunate if people are doing that. I think it's really sad, but I think it's like par for the course with like. I'm not saying it's right. Just everybody, bear with me here. It's not right, but it is kind of part of like being a public figure and being a celebrity, isn't it?
I mean, it's definitely par for the course. That's for sure.
I mean, don't you kind of like give up a little bit of your anonymity and you give up? I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying that like people like you and I, right, who have a podcast and a YouTube channel and talk on Twitter, we're not getting death threats. It's people that are really high profile, and then whatever, and again, I think a lot of it comes down to
that's not an invitation, by the way, everybody out there. But go on, Mike.
Right. Although there are sometimes I get really weird DMs and stuff like that, and when I do, they just to
the delete pile.
Yeah, just block, delete, or mute, whatever.
And and just to play devil's advocate, right? From what I've been hearing, the rumblings are going on in Berea.
Yeah, I want to get to that.
All bets, I should say, everything is on the table when it comes to the quarterback position. Now, with that being said, the next 2 weeks, they can say, they can come out and play well, and he could play really well, and then they make the postseason, and then who's to say what goes on? I think the one thing, just to tie it back to the beginning, and then I'll get off this topic, but we were, and you never want to see teams lose guys to injuries, i.e. COVID, but we had already experienced our outbreak, and there's part of you that thinks, oh, wait a second, we could go to Pittsburgh, win that game, come home, beat the Bengals, get into the playoffs, and then maybe a little luck comes our way where somebody has bad luck like we had in terms of the COVID.
Oh, but what could be crazy, Mike? What happens? Let's say you run into like a Super Bowl situation where like you have an outbreak like you had, because at the NFL headquarters, their front office, they're running through all the scenarios.
Well, so, look at it this way though. At this point, 5 days, you're good. And no test.
And that's why I think that it's happening like this.
Yeah,
because they're going, God forbid we get an NFC Championship game with the Packers and Buccaneers,
right?
And a possible Super Bowl rematch of Brady Mahomes, and you get an outbreak, and you're down. I don't know who's already had it or who hasn't, but like you're down Gronk and Antonio Brown, Tom Brady. I mean, imagine.
Yeah, you're in trouble.
But imagine that. Imagine Tom Brady tests positive, no symptoms, and he's on day 9, and that's the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, it would crush ratings.
Yeah.
It would crush everything, everything leading up to that. So that's why they're doing it. Got everybody out there who's like, well, they're just following the CDC guideline. No. It's
helped
about the money.
Yeah. I mean, that was the
excuse.
Exactly. And so to that point, so now you lose that, right? Because teams are not going to experience what we experienced for 2 weeks. So, but throw that aside. If he plays well and he gets them into the playoffs, and let's say we advance a game, or he plays really well and you lose, whatever, but he's playing well, things can change, right? And I think a lot, when I think of his accuracy, and I think we talked about this last week, maybe, I don't believe that you could just lose the pinpoint accuracy that he's had his whole life, at the flip of a switch. I do think that the injury has to be hurting him somewhat, but the reads and the footwork, like that's something that, that has nothing to do with the injury. And, as we know, he refuses to work with a private quarterback coach, or yeah, I guess you can call it a private quarterback coach. But one guy that everybody always, Jordan Palmer, that's his name. A lot of the guys go to him. I think Josh Allen goes to him, and hey, look, you saw what Josh Allen was in college in terms of accuracy, and he's still not like an accurate god at this point, but he does the work. He works with his specialists in the offseason and whatnot, and it's starting to improve, and you see it on the field. I mean, he made throws the other day that I don't think we've ever seen anybody make a throw like that. But anyway, regardless, so maybe that's going through their mind, and if he starts improving and looks a different way the rest of the way out here, maybe the conversation isn't as one-sided in terms of, yeah, we're absolutely we're lifting every rock and around every corner to figure out what we're going to do with the quarterback position. But then at the same time, we don't know. So the rumblings that I'm hearing, I mean, it could already be almost a done deal that the writing is already on the wall. So, what better way to help the exit along than to, get on social media and say how bad it is and whatever. And then finally, oh, we're free of this. Now, that's just devil's advocate, but you never know. I mean, I personally believe, and you personally believe, because we've had the conversations, that, I mean, it's just getting a little bit too much with whose spouse is doing this and doing that, and it's just out of control at this point. I personally believe.
I also think, I mean, Jimmy Haslam has not really, I mean, you can only change so much as a person. Jimmy Haslam is not a patient guy.
No, I agree.
He tried so hard to be patient with you. And he was like, this ain't working. And then he goes back to Freddie and he gives Freddie a year. And it's like, I mean, and then he goes to Stefanski, and I think he is sold on the coaching staff, or at least the head coach. I think he's sold on the front office. But I mean, when you throw four interceptions in a game that you have to win, whether they were held, and it's like Baker has consistently failed in big moments, right? I mean, going back to last year in Kansas City, and then throughout this year, he has. When was the last time I think probably Cincinnati, last year.
Yeah,
was like the last time he let a team down to score, whether there was a field goal or touchdown, and it's unacceptable, And then
yeah, go on. I'm sorry, Mike.
And then you got with the situation. I have some thoughts on what we could possibly do with that quarterback situation.
Oh, I know you. I know you do.
I've been thinking about it. I was actually talking to my dad. Talking to my dad today about it.
Hopefully it doesn't include the guy with the 4-letter last name.
We got Michael. He donated. We are winning the division, boys. Go Browns. Thank you, Michael, with the super chat.
And if that's the case, I'm making the trip. We'll see.
And it wasn't me, the Michael, and it wasn't Mike R who gave the $1.99 to super chat. That's another Michael. So
there's a lot of us. We're like a little army out there.
A whole bunch. So yeah. So I was talking to my dad about this, and I was thinking about the quarterback position, and my dad is sold that they're going to give another year to Baker. They don't want to. He thinks it's the injury. He's going to get surgery and come back. And I think depending upon what you've heard, I want to hear more about this, but I think in a vacuum, you've got Baker, who had another off year. I mean, massively stepped backwards, but he was injured. You have the OBJ debacle, right? And then now you've got OBJ producing again in LA. That makes him look bad. And then on the flip side, you don't have the Browns producing, which is again another kind of strike. Okay, and you've got options, quite frankly. So here, let me throw a couple of these at you, and you tell
throw
me.
them at us. Let's see what we all think.
It's not Goff.
All right, step up.
But here's the thing. Here's the reality is, this is not a. There's no Trevor Lawrence. There's no Andrew Luck. There's no John Elway in this draft. We all agree with that, right?
Now, hey, real quick before you go on, only because you brought it up, and I'll say it really quick. I don't want to ruin your thought. Trevor Lawrence is interesting to me, and the only reason I say that is because if they bring in a whole new regime, and he's not their guy, and they are eyeing somebody in this draft that they'd rather have, you never know. That Trevor Lawrence could be on the table in terms of a draft day trade kind of thing. But go on.
It's a scenario,
yeah.
Right? I think they would be. I would be shocked if they decided to move off of Trevor after 1 year of that debacle with Urban Meyer, right? I mean, I think Trevor needs the full gambit. I think he's earned that, and I think he's got the tools, right? Yeah. So it's not really Trevor failing them; it's more like they're failing Trevor. But my point is, we don't have somebody out there that's like the consensus overall. There's not a Cam Newton, right? So think about the teams that need a quarterback. Jacksonville, or who are going to be at the top of the draft. Jacksonville, Detroit, right?
Yep. Jets, they don't need a quarterback. We're just talking quarterback needed.
Right. The Jets, the Giants.
Giants already came out and said they're rolling back Daniel Jones and Judge.
But here's the thing. If there was a Cam Newton, or if there was a Andrew Luck, if there was somebody like that in the draft, and you were like the Arizona Cardinals, like a Kyler Murray, and you're like, hey, we got Josh Rosen, we just drafted him in the first round, we made a mistake, he wasn't our guy, they admitted it, they drafted Kyler Murray, they traded Josh Rosen for probably what he was worth, and they moved on very, very, very quickly. They ripped a Band-Aid. There's not a guy like that in this draft that you can just rip the Band-Aid and say, like, we have to go in this direction. There are teams that could, Houston could go quarterback. They need one because they're not going to have Deshaun Watson. The Carolina Panthers need quarterback, right? But they have a lot of problems. They have a lot of things that they need to fix as well.
Yeah.
The Washington football team.
Yeah, they could be in business.
They could be in the quarterback conversation. The Atlanta Falcons could be looking to move off of Matt Ryan. I think that would be silly to do that at this point.
Yeah, I think he's got some more years on his deal too, if I remember correctly. I think you looked it up last week.
And if they wanted to move off of Ryan, he would have like a $40 million dead cap hit, which they're not going to do.
And and also if there's somebody that somebody likes in the first round, there's 3 teams that definitely could be in play to trade to get more capital, because if you look at it, you figure the Eagles have 3 picks in the first round. I can't see them picking all 3. I feel like they unload at least one to get some draft capital and continue on their rebuild. Because they've got holes, but not many. I think they're 8-7 right now. Then you look at the Jets. The Jets have 2 picks in the first round. They already got the quarterback last year. They probably will use both picks, but you never know. And then the Giants have 2 picks in the first round. So, they might be a player to trade a pick away. So, if there's a team that's out there that is quarterback hungry and quarterback hungry in the draft, then there's scenarios there to get up and get your guy. But like you and I talk about, if let's say that team were the Browns, you're going to sacrifice year 1 and next year's 1 and a 2 and a 4 somewhere along the way, I would imagine. So
depending upon how far you got to go. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I think it gets really interesting if no quarterback is taken in the top 8, because right now it's looking like Jacksonville, Detroit, Houston, Jets, Giants, Panthers, Jets, Giants. Okay. Out of those, Panthers could, Texans could. Right. Those are two.
Yeah.
But if no quarterbacks are gone after 8 picks, then you've got Washington that's going to be there. Is going to be sitting there going, this now becomes a somewhat valuable pick. And then it goes down the road. And I think the one thing that kind of is that everybody has to be 100% aware of is Pittsburgh is going to be in the quarterback market next year.
Oh, I think so.
They can't, they don't have the answer in Rudolph or Haskins or anything. They're going to be looking for somebody to build around with Najee Harris and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yep. And Ben's definitely done. I don't know if you've read, but he's got family members coming to this game next Monday night that he normally would never bring. He's got, players that he played with previously that he's flying in for the game. So this is his last hurrah. Hopefully, hopefully we send him packing and he's crying on the bench like he was last year. But that remains to be seen. But yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I'm telling you, you and I have talked about it. We've talked about it on here. I like Kenny Pickett a lot. And, that they very well could snag Kenny Pickett and stays in the Pittsburgh area. And, and now he's terrorizing us. So yeah, it'll be interesting. It's going to be an interesting draft. And I mean, we're a ways away from that, but, let's hope, let's hope Baker plays lights out the next couple of games and we're okay with it.
But here's the situation. If we got it looks like kind of the 3 quarterbacks that are being discussed here is Matt Corral, Kenny Pickett, and then I think there's 2 other ones, Malik Willis out of Liberty, and then the kid out of North Carolina, Sam Howell. I don't think Sam Howell's that good. I've seen him play plenty in college against Virginia Tech. He is just he'll be a backup. He should be a 3rd round pick. He'll be a backup quarterback if he makes it in the NFL. And the only reason he'd be a 1st round pick this year is because there's just not a lot of quarterback talent. Right?
Yep, somebody reach him.
Malik Willis has played at Liberty and is not a big guy. He's not like a Steve McNair, where he was a big guy with a giant arm. So I'm not in love with Malik Willis.
No.
Then you got Matt Corral, who I do like a lot. He's got a big arm, and he's been on the radar for a lot of people for a really long time. He was in that Elite 11 class with Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence. So he's coming out, and he could be good. But I think Kenny Pickett, in my estimation, is kind of the gem of this draft. So I agree with you, Mike. But if we end up drafting Kenny Pickett, then we're giving up a lot. We're probably going to give up a lot of capital. And usually teams don't go up and give up an arm and a leg for a quarterback unless they're like in a, and they've decided we're rebuilding.
Yeah, if you look at this team, they're built right now. I don't know if a Kenny Pickett kind of guy, can be put in, plug and play, year one, and take them there. I don't know. Have there been rookies that have come in and played well out of the gate? Sure, but I then you look at the veterans that could be available. I could tell you right now, the organization is not going with Watson. I could tell you that for a fact. Rodgers ain't coming here. I don't want Wilson, and he's not coming anyway. I'm done with the shorter quarterbacks. If you're going out to get another quarterback, go get me somebody that can see 2 inches over the line, and I don't have to hear that never ending saga of why can't our guys see over the line. I'm tired of that. But with that being said, I don't see I can't see them going off of Baker. I could see a lot of of talk and a lot of now. The other side of this equation is, you know, everything that's going on right now. He very well could turn around and say, "Hey, you know what? We're tired. This isn't what we thought it was going to be. And I know you guys aren't offering me a contract. You signed, you gave me the 50-year option. I'm not playing. I want out." There's
You think
always
he holds out?
correct, and demands a trade. There's always that aspect of it, and so
what's the market going to be like for a trade for him?
That I don't know, but like you said, I mean, a Houston Texans team could fall in love with the fact that he could be rejuvenated down in his home state. Who knows? But it's not out of the realm of possibility for that to be a scenario. I mean, whatever happens next year is, I don't know. I think that they're going to bring him back, but again, I'm telling you, people in the organization are not 100% sold on that idea. That I can tell you, that I know, that I've heard from reputable source, and we'll see. I mean, we're not them. We don't know, but I can tell you that it's not all rosy right now. It's not rainbows and sunshine, as Rocky would say. There is a lot of chatter, if you will. So, I mean, we'll see what happens, but
they have to be thinking about it, because look at this. Let's say that some miracle, McShay and also Mel Kiper have Kenny Pickett as number one quarterback. A number one quarterback on the board who's like a kind of consensus number one quarterback doesn't last to like pick 15. Right? So we would have to give up something again. But let's say that we did, okay, for a second. And we bring back Baker, like a la Jimmy Garoppolo, a la Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers. You bring him back and you let him play. And you say, okay, go play football for a year. It's a contract year. Maybe that adds a little bit of focus for Baker. Maybe he gets surgery and he gets his mechanics back, right? And then we have a guy like Kenny Pickett who sits there and watches for a year. And then, get this, Mike, Baker hasn't exactly been, not injury-proof. Who's that? Zeka with a $1.99 super chat. Thank you, Zeka. No actual chat in that super chat, just $1.99. Thank you very much. But think about this, Mike. You get a guy who gets to sit there and watch. You get a backup quarterback who could be ready to go if you need him. Baker injures the shoulder again, breaks a leg, does whatever. You have another guy that's not just a journeyman like a Case Keenum or a Colt McCoy that's backing up, that's just sitting there, in the event that you ask him to just go out there and not throw interceptions and hand the ball off to Nick Chubb.
And it possibly, that could be a scenario. This is not a secret. Our receiving core right now as a group is horrendous, right? If you look at where they're ranked individually, I mean, it's down at the bottom. So and we've talked about this, if you decide to go with a quarterback in the first round, I mean, it's a deep wide receiver draft, don't get me wrong, but you're probably not getting that explosive plug and play, Jalen Waddle
that you need.
And Jamar Chase, kind of even Devonta Smith has come on recently. You're not getting that guy. You're getting you're getting the poor man's version of Chris Olave or Garrett Wilson or Burks from Arkansas, I like a lot, or Dotson from Penn State, who Dotson might be there in the second round. But again, you don't even know, because I mean, it depended on where, if they liked someone like Kenny Pickett, depending on where they are to have to get up there, you might have to lose that too as well. So it's just, this couldn't be a worse circumstance than it is right now. I believe going into the off season. Hopefully, they win these next two games. They get into the playoffs, and they roll it back next year. Add some weapons. Baker's healthy. Hopefully, he stays healthy. He doesn't think he's a strong safety again. And I mean, and to that point, and let me finish this one real quick, is then he's healthy and he has the season and the accuracy that we grown accustomed to, at the end of last year, and all is forgiven. But I don't know. It could be that, and it could not be that. But he needs to understand what his responsibilities are, if you will, of playing quarterback in the NFL. And part of that responsibility is your availability. And on top of your availability is your availability to be healthy as you can be. I mean, obviously these guys get dinged up or whatnot, but not to the point where, their shoulders hanging off. And it could have all been avoided if you didn't try and square up the safety on the interception, because, he's Baker and, he's the alpha male. I mean, there were 4 other guys around him that have tackled people their whole life that could have made that tackle. And guess what? Let's say they don't make the tackle and he runs it back for a touchdown. Okay, so what? So you come back out and you make that play up, and you're healthy. So I mean, really, his mindset really hurt the season when you think about it. I mean,
Yeah.
as mean as that might sound,
It's the truth. It's the truth, though. I mean, and I think that he would have, if he could have gone back to not take that hit, there's no way in hell he would have done that. He would have got out of the way or just kind of stood there or whatever. But I mean, after Baker got hurt like that, I don't know. I mean, for me, I was like, just get out of the damn way.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. And I think that really what it comes down to is this: if Baker and Emily don't want to be in Cleveland, and there's rumblings that the Browns don't want them in Cleveland, so it's mutual, right? And maybe they don't like the drama. Maybe they don't like the whatever they bring, right? Now, the one thing is, winning cures all.
Absolutely.
We win the next 2 games and we fall ass backwards into the playoffs and win the division for the first time in like 50 years. I mean, I don't care what he did. He won the division. You can't bail on a guy like that. I guess you could, but it would be unwise to bail on somebody like that, and who's got a 5th year. I think you try to make it work. And unless it's like, I mean, they made the Aaron Rodgers situation work, and he hates their front office, Yeah. So, but they're winning. If they didn't win, Aaron Rodgers would be like, get me the hell out of here. And he probably would have held out and be like, trade me or I don't play.
You see what he said today?
I'll retire. No.
I'm paraphrasing, but there is an off chance that he retires after this season.
I think that there's a chance. I think Aaron Rodgers right now, especially if he wins a Super Bowl, why not?
Yeah, I agree.
Why not cap it off like that? You capped off a Hall of Fame career. You're one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history, and you can't argue with that.
Nope.
You've done it for a long time. You really solidified the forgetting of Brett Favre immediately, right? I mean, talk about going from Peyton Manning to Andrew Luck. Well, going from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, who sat behind him for 3 years.
Yeah.
A first-round quarterback. They just locked him up with handcuffs for 3 years. right? So, and guys, the Packers turned out to be okay. That's what I'm saying. Like if a quarterback falls to us that we love in the first round, it's okay, right? It's okay to do that. I don't see a Joe Burrow in this draft. I don't see a Kyler Murray or somebody who's a guaranteed star. Now, could the kid from Liberty come out and be amazing? Sure. But I mean, I think there's massive question marks all over these guys. But I do like us getting another young quarterback that we can build around. That could be, when I say build around, I mean as an insurance plan, I guess, like, so to speak, like right away.
What's interesting, and you tell me your thoughts on this, but like I know that it's the coaches obviously is not in trouble. It's that's not something they're evaluating. He's fine. They're happy with the front office. They're happy with the coaching staff. So this is purely a Baker thing, right? So eventually, if you don't win, then you essentially wind up on the hot seat. I mean, we've seen it time and time again, and that goes for the GM or the coach. So I think you get to a point where, there has to be an evaluation, and that's most definitely going to go on in the off season. And that's an evaluation between staff and front office in terms of, lifting up every rock and every stone, and looking around every corner, trying to figure out, hey, we're going to put the film on and let's go through, his ability to read the defense on X plays, or let's look at his footwork. Hey, we've been working with him. He doesn't work with someone on the side. Van Pelt's worked with him, etc. And was this footwork? Did he regress because of the injury, or is he just not getting that down, right? And they're going to have to make, and as fans, we could all sit here and go, oh, he's definitely coming back. Oh, they're definitely, throwing him out, or, and one way or the other. Mm-hmm. But I mean, these guys are paid professionals, as we know. So, their jobs eventually are on the line. So,
sure,
of course, after a performance that we've seen so far this year, they have to go through a whole litmus test of everything, because they, at the end of the day, meaning, depending, do I think we're going to go to the Super Bowl this year? I don't. So let's say hypothetically the season ends, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. They find a way and they lose in the first round, let's say.
Okay.
So by mid-January, they're already locked in an office trying to figure out, okay, what are we doing here? We just re-signed Nick Chubb. His legs are not going to get any younger. We've locked up Miles. I'm sure they'll lock up Clowney. I think he'll want to stay. They're going to get Denzel. They'll probably give Njoku a contract. So all these guys and our team where it is right now, like, we're built to win now, right? Next couple of years. So if they're not 100% sure that they can win with what they have now, they have to go ahead and if they think to your point, if they think there's a guy out there, a veteran that can play smart football and is good enough with the talent that they have and some of the stuff that they're going to add to be able to take us to the playoffs and possibly win a Super Bowl, they're going to look at that. And then they're also going to look at, okay, is there a rookie out there that we like, that we can go ahead and we can get, that is going to be a quick learner, we think has the tools, and might not be able to take you where you want to go next year, but we are 98% sure that this kid is going to be able to take us to where we want to go, 2 years out. then you're still falling into that window. So there's going to be a lot of back and forth. And if he's the guy next year, you better believe your bottom dollar that those guys did a very thorough review and they felt, and they're the guys that matter, that they can win a Super Bowl with Baker. If you find that he's gone and they went and got a veteran, or they went the route of the rookie in a draft, then you're going to know that that's, again, they didn't think they could get it done with Baker, and they think and believe that they can get it done with the kid. But the clock's ticking on everybody. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I do believe that, that this front office and in this coaching staff, Kevin Stefanski, exclusively, are going to be here for a very long time. But I do think that, whatever does happen, it's going to be what they believe is best to get us a Super Bowl. And, that remains to be seen.
Well, the other thing that's kind of good is, once you have that one piece, everything else falls in place, right? Look at when Tom Brady was there, when, Drew Brees was there in New Orleans with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, you're going to have, you could say Roethlisberger, right? Once you have that one piece, then you're building around it with all those picks in the first round,
Yeah.
And if your guy, we thought we had our guy, and if you look at Baker's stats, he's like 90 touchdowns, 54 interceptions. He's got a decent, he's like 50-50 win percentage on some bad teams and some good teams. A lot of bad luck too. But that comes kind of with what you get in Cleveland. Like you're not getting Miami Dolphin weather. You're getting Cleveland stuff.
Yeah.
So, but I do think if you get your guy, no matter what you have to give up for it, it literally does not matter. Because unless you're giving up like a Herschel Walker type thing where you're giving 4 first rounds and all that kind of stuff to get the guy, I really think that once you have that piece with the other pieces there, now Kimball is bringing up, 2 guys that we've talked about. I think that there's a real possibility that Minnesota is going to move off of Cousins. And I think there's a real possibility because he just hasn't done it. Statistically, he's fine. But Kirk Cousins, if you put Kirk Cousins on this offense, we're at 10 wins, Mike. There's no doubt in my mind we're at 10 wins with Kirk Cousins this year.
I think if they did go that route and brought in I don't see Derek Carr, but
I don't think they're going to move off Carr. I think they're going to keep him.
No, he's not going anywhere. But what I will say is if by some, whatever, you see Cousins in Cleveland, I think it's because Baker was jettisoned and they drafted a kid, and now they want the kid to sit behind a veteran. And it's much easier to draft a kid to sit behind Kirk Cousins than it is to draft a kid that has to sit behind Baker Mayfield.
I'm with you 100%. I think all these scenarios are out there, right? If we go out and trade, because we have to trade for Kirk Cousins, and I think, what's he gonna demand, a 5th? Right?
Yeah, at this point, how old is Kirk Cousins now? Is he 31,
34?
34? Yeah. So I did not like the Jared Goff stuff.
33, right? But he will be 34 next year.
We already went through that. But if you look,
let's go back and re-explore that.
but if you look at a Kirk Cousins, he's nearing. Some of these guys play forever, but he's at the back end, and he would be coming back to play for Stefanski under the understanding that, they drafted a kid. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that whoever they draft has to play next year or 2 years, right? To your point earlier, I mean, Aaron Rodgers sat for 3 years, right? So, you certainly could draft the guy that you believe is going to be your quarterback of the future and go and find a way to get a Kirk Cousins, reunited with Stefanski. And to your point, I mean, can give you, get you to the postseason. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean, all you needed this year, and I think we would both be in agreement, and I think everybody that's listening would be in agreement, is that the only thing that we really needed this year was just above competent quarterback play. That's all I mean, if you have a quarterback on Christmas that is protecting the ball, and I get it, that last play was definitely pass interference, and he got hit in the face on the one to, I think it might have been the Jarvis that threw that way or whatever. That's fine. I get it. I've talked about that, but other quarterbacks that are more protective of the ball wouldn't have gone out on a limb on some of those, the bad throw to Jarvis when we were in field goal range, which that could have been the difference, or the bad throw to Jarvis on our sideline going left to right that he just, threw up in the air and the guy undercut it and intercepted it. So if you have a Kirk Cousins, does Kirk Cousins throw 4 interceptions in that game?
No,
or does Kirk Cousins protect the ball and you wind up winning that game? And now we're looking at a different scenario right now.
At this point, Kirk Cousins, at this point in his career, is to the point where you could plug him into any team and he'd be extremely productive. I mean, you reach a point. I mean, how many years is Cousins? Hold on, let me see. So
he was with RG3,
1, 2,
right?
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years in the league. Okay, he is a professional quarterback at this point, and his stats this year, he's thrown 30 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. The most he has ever thrown, interception-wise, was 13 for Washington his last year. The most he's thrown in Minnesota, he threw 10 interceptions, then 6, then 13 last year. 13 picks, but 35 TDs.
So with that statistic, Mike, so you said as of now he has 6 picks this year?
7 total picks.
7 total picks. So
Baker had 4 in a game.
Baker had 4 in a game. So yeah.
I mean, guys, like it's a massive upgrade if we got a Kirk Cousins. I know he's not the sexiest guy in the world in terms of that sounded weird, but like it's not the the greatest, most exciting person to bring in. But if you can't look at it and say, hey, this guy isn't an upgrade. Now, the big rub on him is his QB record is 58, 59, and 2. He's a losing quarterback.
Yeah.
Right. And then if you look at Baker, Baker's QB rec is 29, 29, and 0. Right. So Baker and Kirk, in terms of winning, are very similar. But I mean, Kirk's completion percentage is much higher. His touchdown to interception ratio is much higher. I think at this point, you can be a quarterback now in this league with the rules that we have. You can be a quarterback into your late 30s. There's no reason why you can't. Right. So I don't know. It's not to say that I don't want Baker to work out. If Baker throws 35, 40 touchdowns, hallelujah. Right. And we have ourselves a Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers situation, where he just figures it out after, 4 years in the league. It is possible. But think about it like this. In any job, if you've been working at any job for 4 years, you're still figuring it out. It takes 5 years or 10,000 hours to master something, they say, right?
Yeah.
And so maybe he turns the leaf next year and he just crushes it. But if everybody bails, if the front office is going to bail, then I think they're going to bail on 2 things. One, what they've seen on the tape, what the production he's given. And they asked Andrew Berry about it. And Andrew Berry at this point, it's like we're going to take into consideration the total body of work. He's sitting there telling us he's going to have to make a decision. He's not, and when you make a decision and when you're a smart person, You look at all the different variables that are out there. And what are the things that you have to look? And the number one variable that you have to look at is, what are the other options at quarterback if we don't stick with Baker next year? And what will it cost us? You know, if we gotta give 2 firsts or 3 firsts to get Kenny Pickett, that's a huge investment when we have other holes. Like you said, we don't have a wide receiver that's dangerous anymore. They can put 8 guys in the box every game and say, go ahead, Nick, go run through 8 guys all game. Right? So we are very vanilla right now without the wide receiver. Not to say that there's any guarantee at wide receiver either.
No.
But
I looked up Cousins is under contract for 1 more year. His base salary is $35 million in 2022. 45 million cap number.
Yeah. So, and I'm sure he's got a no trade. You know, I'm sure there's stuff like that out there. But
he's the 8th highest paid quarterback, by the way.
Well, he got that massive deal. Remember when he left Washington?
2018.
He got that huge deal.
Where'd it go?
And what's Washington? And Washington has been
$84 million over 3 years.
And Washington has been, you know, just flopping around looking for a quarterback ever since. You know, right? So you've got, I don't know, like when you have a guy like that who is showing a lot of upside, they bailed on Cousins, a guy that took him to the playoffs. Are we about to do that with Baker? I think the perfect situation is this, Mike. The perfect situation is we have Baker come back this next year and see what he's got. He goes in, plays his heart out. He plays professionally, gives us 5 years of work, and we see how he does. We go out and we draft him a wide receiver, a really good wide receiver, like, you know, give him, you know, Garrett, or give him Chris, or give him the kid from, where's it, Arkansas, or is it Arkansas State? Just give him that guy and say, let's go out and we're going to try to build around this offense. Go out in the second round, pick up a defensive player in the second round. Go out in the third round, pick up a left guard in the third round because we're moving Batonio to tackle. We're moving Jed over to the right side. Right? Go and shore up some of these holes on this team. Go find another linebacker out there. Right? Maybe go find another defensive back. Find us a kicker. We're drafting. I almost think there's no doubt we're drafting a kicker.
They have to do something there. It's
lost us games.
Yeah. I mean, you look at, and again, I mean, last game it was unfortunate that McLaughlin, you know, wound up on the COVID list, and the kid comes in and you know, of course he shanks the first one, and quite honestly, those are the 2 points that you were chasing and wound up losing by.
Yeah, and then meanwhile, you know, you've got well, is Austin Siebert still playing, or did he get cut?
No, he's somewhere. I just can't think of where.
Is it Detroit?
But he's definitely somewhere.
I mean, he's out there kicking. Greg the Leg was kicking for a while.
Yeah,
Zane Gonzalez.
I think Zane's hurt again, or.
I mean, whatever happened to Parkey? Is he?
I don't know where he went.
But I mean, it's like, I don't know.
He was Parkey was good down the stretch last year. I don't know. It's, you thought McLaughlin was going to be the guy, and he's missed those kicks, and maybe you stay with him, and you know, he works through it. But I don't even, he should be coming off the COVID list, I would imagine, now with this 5-day thing.
Yeah. Zeka says kickers aren't hard to find. The Lions picked up Riley Patterson from New England's practice squad, and he hasn't missed a kick.
There you go.
I mean, but when we got Parkey, things were looking okay, and then he fell off the cliff. And then with Chase McLaughlin, I mean, he was 9 for 9 to start the season.
Yeah, I mean, then he hit that 57-yarder, and we thought, man, do we have our version of
Justin Tucker.
with Justin Tucker? And
Right.
God, the answer was absolutely
It
not.
was like right after that, it was just fell off the damn map. Yeah, Ryan, we did draft Siebert,
Yeah,
Oklahoma kid,
he came along with Baker.
and he was one of the highest, the most accurate kickers in college football history.
It's almost like the Colts when they went out and got Blankenship, and I mean he's been far from the greatness that they thought they were getting from what he was in college.
It's a different game in the pros.
Yeah,
It's the same motion.
goalposts are narrower.
But it is what it is. There's more pressure. I think kicking is a mental game, but we need a kicker. So I think in a perfect situation, we go out there, we get him the wide receiver, we shore up the rest, so we fill up the rest of the holes, we re-sign Clowney. We do what we have to do, right? And then we see where the chips fall next year. If he gets off to a rough start, I hope that Andrew Berry in this front office has a plan B somewhere. What's the plan B? It can't be Case Keenum.
No, I mean, I am almost 100% sure that those conversations have already been taking place. I don't think that I don't think there's anything that's going to happen this year. Now that we're talking about it, that will change anything in terms of what their evaluation is going to be. I don't think that. I mean, I believe they could beat the Steelers on Monday night. They should beat the Steelers on Monday night. The Steelers couldn't stop you and I running, you as the tailback, me as the fullback, vice versa. So we should be able to take care of business there, and then you're home against the Bengals, and depends on what Joe Burrow you're going to get. He seems like he's full steam ahead, and so I guess the point I'm making is I don't think that if they win those games, I don't think that you're gonna point your finger towards Baker had an amazing game and he won the game. I mean, he put you on his back for 2 games to get you the division and into the playoffs. I'm hard pressed to see that kind of outcome, if you will.
Yeah, and I don't know, man. I honestly, based on how he played the last 2 games, I don't see that being possible. He is throwing high. Now the ones downfield, I think the downfield passes are there, but the ones that he has to put with a little bit of touch, he is throwing high, and those are being intercepted.
Yeah,
and when you have to, he throws, obviously it's right-handed, but when you throw, you're taught to keep the ball, like your shoulders are both shoulders are important when you throw.
absolutely.
Obviously one's more than the other, but it's a problem. And
I mean,
then on top of it, you got wide receivers dropping the damn ball on him.
If you look at, I know they're talking about footwork in the chat, but all you have to do is go and look at the play that we were in the red zone somewhere, or right outside of the red zone, but on that pick that he was throwing to Jarvis, all you have to do is look at that play, and injury or no injury, I mean, there was no footwork that went into that. It was just,
yeah,
it was, I mean, it was ugly. I don't know how else to describe it. And don't get me wrong. I mean, you see a little bit of ugliness out of Josh Allen every now and again. I mean, if you look at that throw that people were raving about, saying, there's nobody else that we know on the planet that could make that throw where he went across his body left to right. If you look at his feet pretty much look just like Baker on that poor interception that he threw. The only difference is Baker could have stepped up in the pocket, and Josh Allen is able to make that throw with his feet next to each other, backpedaling, because the guy's got a howitzer for an arm. So you can take those type of chances, and it's not even really a chance with him because his arm's so strong. But with someone little like Baker, that you have to, everything has to go right in order to maintain your level of accuracy and ball placement. If your footwork is not where it's supposed to be, then I mean, it's an uphill battle all the time.
Yeah,
So
absolutely, man. And I don't know. I think that I like you and me, man. I want it to work out. I really like the guy.
yeah, I agree with you.
I really think that from an attitude perspective, from what he symbolizes in Cleveland, since LeBron left, it's been Baker Mayfield from a personality standpoint. Now, I think the gem on the team is Nick Chubb, but it's been Baker Mayfield. It hasn't been Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett was a first overall draft pick, but he doesn't play quarterback, right?
Yeah.
And he's been somewhat neutralized the last 2 games. You can do that. You could do that to Myles Garrett. You can't really do that in the quarterback position. So, you look at a guy like Pat Mahomes. He shows up on the field and just lights it up. Justin Herbert lights it up. There are guys, Kyler Murray. There are guys that can go out there and just be incredible from the very beginning,
Yeah.
right? And we've seen 4 years of, okay, maybe.
If you remember when he came out, it was Baker was the most ready to win now quarterback. If you remember correctly, that was, that was the footnote next to his name. But then at the same time, what was also next to his name was not much more, not a very high ceiling, right? Pretty much what you were getting quarterback ready at that point to play in the NFL was basically what they said was like that was his ceiling. Whereas a Josh Allen was raw, but with that arm and size, his ceiling was much more, and you're starting to see
But
that
more,
ceiling,
but
and
also
you're
more risk
climbing towards the ceiling.
comes along with that,
and more risk, yeah.
right?
And you look at Baker, has he plateaued? Or I mean, I don't even know if you could say plateau.
Mike, let me ask you this. You can answer me this question.
Yeah.
Does in the last 4 years, when Baker Mayfield steps on the field,
Yep.
do you expect 300 to 400 yards and 3 to 5 touchdowns every time he steps on the field?
No, and to that, and to your point, I think that a misconception is that you're not supposed to see those kind of passing numbers because we're a running team. However, we'll go back to the guy that we were just talking about, and Kirk Cousins, and you and I broke it down. I think it was last Wednesday show or maybe the Wednesday show before, one of them, that they're running the same exact offense that Stefanski runs. It's run heavy with Dalvin Cook. I mean, you see what kind of offense they run because you can almost like us, right? I mean, Dalvin Cook goes out and they plug in Madison, and is he Dalvin Cook? No. Is he more than serviceable in that offense, and can he play? Absolutely. But on the flip side of that, they still pass the ball, right? The concepts are the same. And I mean, we went through the list, Mike. I mean, there's 300-yard games, 400-yard games with 4 touchdowns. I think there was a 5-touchdown game in there. So the misconception that this offense, you don't gain yards and touchdowns through the air, that's really not the case. And I mean, if you look at that again, is it the injury? We don't know. But I mean, if you look at that last drive, and again, I'll still, pound the table that was a BS no call at the end, and there was some tomfoolery involved in there. I truly believe that. But it didn't have to get there. I mean, if you look at the play to Njoku, that was the play design. He was the first read. and he was open, but that was a pass that you would expect Josh Allen to make when he came out his rookie year, wide and outside, that he can't make an accurate throw. So, an accurate quarterback there's no doubt that you've got our kicker in a position to win the game, or you're still trying to, we get the first down there, and I think we still had 3 or 2 timeouts left. I think once you get that first down, you just start gashing them with the run, and you've got plenty of timeouts to try and gash them and then pop one here and there, and that just didn't happen. And all it took, I mean, it's funny because we come back full circle all the time when we go on these little rants, and the full circle is, had we had just above competent quarterback play in Green Bay, this show has a whole totally different feel to it.
And you know what? Here it is. Like, it all comes down to this. It's all comes down to time and opportunity, right? Baker has been there long enough. He's had the opportunities. And has it been all his fault? No. He had some missed calls. He's had a lot of drops in his career for whatever reason. And he's had a lot of great catches, but a lot of drops. And at this point, I don't know, are we, is that, if we roll this same team out next year, I don't know if we'd expect any better result. Let's just say that.
Yeah, well, and you have to, I think it's funny sometimes because people get so caught up on, being the Baker wars, right? I mean, this is the most intense Twitter that we've seen in a very, very long time.
Probably since before Twitter. So it was DA and Brady Quinn.
Yeah. I mean, there were little spats here and there, during the U years, etc.
Yep.
With Manziel and what have you. But I mean, we're at a fever pitch right now. I mean, it is freaking intense, and I'm probably I'm probably understating it. But the point is that you can be pro Baker and you can be anti Baker, but at the end of the day, the guys that suit up and play and are trying to win a championship, they don't care about, and don't get me wrong, there's relationships built, etc. But they just want to win. And sure, you've got a certain camaraderie on the offensive side with the linemen and the quarterback and the running backs, etc. But the guys on the other side, I mean, there's camaraderie. But the defense has played really well for all the shit that we've given Joe Woods through the course of this year.
Yeah,
sure. There's still some questionable plays when he blitzed and they had the count cover and Devonta Adams. Would I have done that there? No. But I mean, you take if you take the one-offs away, right? Where you go, man, what was he thinking there, or what? The defense has played really well. They have not given up a lot of points since New England, and to me, that was a fluke game anyway. I mean, the defense has kept you in it week after week after week. And you get to a point when you're on that side of the ball that you don't care who the name is that's playing quarterback. All you know is, hey, this team is good and we have a chance now, and we just can't get it done on offense. And then you start having a little, dissension in the ranks then on the, you know what I mean? Where guys are like, well, wait a second. Maybe we do need, a better captain at the quarterback spot, and someone that can actually help us win. And so I think that's what gets lost a lot of the time in all these ridiculous arguments and things about who's for this guy or who's for that guy. There's a whole huge, organization at play here that it's guys want to win. And sure, they like certain people, but I mean, if you're not getting the job done,
Yeah, that's the reality. That's the reality with it. And I think, hey, Max Nikolenko's here. What's going on, Max? I love Baker. I will always love him. I think, I very publicly come out on Twitter in the Baker camp, right? And because that's where my heart is. It really is. I think when I get on this channel, on this show, my head starts taking over more than my heart.
Yeah.
But on Twitter, I basically live and breathe by that. And I really like the guy. And I'm very invested in him from a jersey standpoint and everything.
Yeah.
Got a big flag with his number on it and his face right next to me. I mean, I'm a Baker guy. And he has, if nothing else, if he leaves Cleveland next year or the year after, and that's it, I look back at his body of work and go, I mean, it's up there with Bernie. It's up there with those guys. And because he had to come in and really transform a culture of a team. And how many, like, we went from Bernie, and then we had a couple guys after, it was like we went from Sipe to a couple guys, and we got Bernie. Right? It wasn't 20 years. Right? And then we had Bernie for 10 years, give or take. And then we basically lost the team after the Testaverde years. But Vinny was actually coming into his own at that point. I mean, he had a really good mid-90s run, Vinny Testaverde did. But then after when he came back, we never found our guy. Right? We never found our guy. Right? And then we have a guy who has a decent amount of success. But he seems like there's a couple things, man. I think he mentally, he's got to be feeling, because then let's throw this into the equation as well, right? The OBJ drama that went down and how OBJ left by literally shitting on Baker.
Seems like a year, that seems like it happened 2 years ago, doesn't it? Like it feels so long ago.
Did you see my post that you could buy a youth jersey a youth OBJ jersey for under $5? And then a woman's OBJ, this style, the legend style, which is like the t-shirt, dry fit stuff, for like $5.40. I mean, to be honest, it's not, if you just want a Browns jersey and don't care what it is, there are still people out there rocking the Chris Spielman jersey.
True.
Get yourself every game. I was looking for it every time when they came down to Florida. And we went to Tampa. I didn't go to Jackson, but they went to Jackson. Every time we'd go, we'd always see at least one Chris Spielman jersey. And he never played never played a regular season down for the Browns. At least with OBJ, he was somewhat productive for basically $5. I spent more on lunch today.
It's interesting, and I don't want to get into OBJ, but I will say that touchdown he had the other day was, I mean, that route was dirty.
Yeah, it was
dirty. I mean, that like you look at that route and you go, he still looks like OBJ of yesteryear, but it just didn't work out. And the one thing that, whether we move on from Baker this year or they give him another year and he soars, or they give him the other year and it was a mistake, there'll always be a part of all of us that wonder, like, what would that relationship have been like with a different quarterback? Would we have seen, a better version of what we're seeing, in Los Angeles right now? But it wasn't meant to be, and it is what it is. And
I mean, we weren't going to trade. I mean, imagine if that trade was there. Would we have traded everything for Matt Stafford?
I mean, if you look at where we are today, going into the off season, and there was an opportunity for, let's say, him, I think they would pull. I think they would find a way to make that happen, because I think that if you,
Then you got to feel like you can win today.
yeah, I mean, you go
You have
out
all
and
the pieces.
you get a receiver, and I mean, Matthew Stafford is an exceptional quarterback, and you give him a run game like we have,
And
and
then
then
you give him the offense that we
and give him
run.
the offense for. I mean, yeah, I mean, it would be lights out. I mean, we there'd be a lot more games won. There's no question about that.
Uh, I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. I don't know if I would have been happy with us giving away half of our future
Yeah, I mean,
to
yeah,
get him,
that
because
part of
I
it
still
is,
think there are holes that we have on this team.
oh, without a doubt.
Yeah. Give me a score prediction for Pittsburgh.
Oh man,
I mean, it's just like
it is.
shooting a shotgun in the sky and hope you hit a bird at this point when it comes to our.
And a big bird, like it's got to be like a Canadian goose, right? Because you're not nailing a pheasant. That's for damn sure. You know, I don't know. I just, this team can't score points. I mean, they could score points, but I mean, like, points, right? And that's what I worry about in 2 weeks, because I think if they run the ball and they run it well and Baker can manage the game, I think there's no question that they get a W in Pittsburgh on Monday night. I don't see the Steelers sweeping us. I don't. They're not the better team, even with the reduced quarterback play that we've received recently.
I agree.
You know, I just don't know how many points. I mean, the defense has been playing lights out. Newsom will be back. They should have. Go ahead.
But I mean, wouldn't it be just poetic for Roethlisberger to go out? It's his last home game, right?
Yep.
Beating the Browns as his last home game.
Oh yeah. I mean, and I mean, there's going to be added incentive there, and I think you were alluding to that a little bit as well. Like it's not going to be a gimme. So you're going to have to. I think the defense will play very well, but I think that you need at least 21 points to win this game. And I mean, we had what, 22 last week or whatever it was, and I mean, those were tough points to come by. So I don't really have a prediction yet. I'll wait. I'll wait for the pregame show. I think the Browns win the game, and I sound like a broken record. I mean, we should be undefeated the way that we pick games, but for obvious reasons. But they should win the game. It could be like a 24-17 type of game, and I'll write that down, and then we'll see if I go with that on the pregame show Monday. But the last thing that I was going to say about that is, what have we seen in the past 5 games that makes us believe? And now we have a solid defense, so I'm not saying that it's just going to be Air Coryell, but what have we done offensively up to this point to believe that we have the firepower to go to hang with Joe Burrow and company the way they're just slinging the ball around?
I feel like we are now watching the Joe Burrow train is left the station, and this is what we were afraid of. Like, if this guy ever really figures this out, he's going to be unstoppable. I mean, he could be one of the best, if not the best, quarterback in the league. And with his size and his accuracy and his demeanor, like everything about him. And then they went out and everybody thought they should have got him an offensive lineman. They should have gone the conservative route. They went out and they got a wide receiver, and not just any wide receiver, his literal wide receiver.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I mean, it'd be like if we went out and got Mark Andrews. for Baker.
We took Chad Thomas instead of Mark Andrews, but just a little fun fact.
Ugh, Major 9. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Goddamn ridiculous. Chad Thomas over Mark Andrews. It's like, for all the great things that Dorsey did, he made some really head scratching moves too. And so we'll see. We'll see what these guys do. I think honestly it's 50-50 if we win this game. But, I think it'll be high scoring. I'll just throw out, let's say 35-27 Browns.
35. So you think we are going to get off the snide and score some points? I like it.
I do. I think we're going to score some points. I think we have to. And I think we match up well against Pittsburgh at this point. We have to get off to a good start, though, because if we get off to a slow start, it's going to be spell trouble for us. But they can't run the ball for shit. And we have a defense that can stop, teams like that. So I think we're going to be okay. But, we've scored points against them. I don't think Pittsburgh is a team we're afraid of. I really don't.
No, I don't think so either.
I think the Bengals are going to be an interesting fight. But I mean, how funny would it be if after, when the Kevin Stefanski and Freddie Kitchens came, and the Browns are the talk of the AFC. The Browns are going to start dominating the AFC North. It's finally our time, and then all of a sudden, the Bengals have one bad year. They have a generational quarterback that gets dropped in their lap, and they become the team.
And we forget. I mean, he came back from reconstructive knee surgery on like the whole knee.
Yeah, massive.
Like it wasn't just an ACL. Like I mean, he blew it all.
Well, and that's the one thing. Like, what is his durability going to be like for the long haul? Right? He's only one more shot away from that knee blowing out again. Right.
Now,
so
what I think is more important is the battle that's coming up this weekend, which you have dubbed the post-game bowl.
Yes.
I think
there's a lot of drama. Everybody in chat, you go ahead and tell them what's going on in our fantasy football league.
Yeah. So, and I guess I teetered around 3rd and 4th throughout the year.
Yeah.
I think I was down to 5th at one point. Mike was teetering. You were out of the picture for a little while, and then you turned it on at the end. But anyway, regardless, the two of us have wound up in the final against each other. So
it's amazing.
I will say, if I have to lose to somebody, I know, Mike, you told me you haven't won one in a while.
A long time.
So I would be not okay, but okay with it.
That's how I feel too. I feel like
you win.
I feel like, man, we're both in the money now.
Yeah.
So no matter what, we're gonna walk away with a prize.
Correct.
Okay, which is good.
Yep.
And now it's about, do you win a ring or not?
Yeah. Do you have a Yahoo trophy come the end of Monday night? When you go into your little thing.
Yep.
Right now, and for me, I won this league the 2nd year, and then I was 3rd place, and then I was the bridesmaid last year, and I quite possibly could be the bridesmaid again.
Maybe you could be like the Bills.
I could be, yeah,
the Bills of our league.
Yeah, I mean, we could be running this back in 2 years, trying to figure out why I've got 4 silver trophies.
Yeah, I mean, if I look at the fantasy team that I had, guys, it was my first overall pick was McCaffrey, and then he was injured half the season. Second pick was Barkley. He's been injured half the damn season and hasn't even been productive. He's just, every time I get an update on my phone from Yahoo, it's like Saquon Barkley's health went from healthy to questionable. And every day.
Yeah, and you know what's frustrating too is, for me, a couple of weeks ago. Well, first off, I drafted Ridley 2nd, and we know how that happened. He's been out the whole year, and I had Edmonds, and he went on the IR, if you remember. And at that point, I didn't want to drop Ridley because, there was still chatter of, he may come back. So I had to drop Edmonds, and I wasn't able to get him back. And now Connor's out. Edmonds, the number 1 guy in Arizona. And every time the wind blows, Antonio Gibson goes from like a knee to a toe, then to a hip. And so I don't know what's going on with him. Poor J Rob blew out his knee last week. So I did get Kelsey back, so that's good. The only thing I have, the only thing I have going for me, I feel, and you have going for you, but it could turn at the drop of a hat, is you have a lot of capital tied up into Tampa Bay Buccaneer guys. So
ride or die.
Yeah, you're ride or die. So if something occurred crazy and they found that somehow they had a hard time up at MetLife in New York against the Jets, then I could be smiling. Well, but I mean, they targeted Antonio Brown 15 times last week. I think
but here's the thing, man.
Some big points.
Here's the thing. On my team now, I've got Ronald Jones in there who's in for Fournette. He ain't Fournette.
Yeah.
Well, before that,
he had a nice game last week though.
Zeka came back through with a super chat that I missed. I don't trust the Steelers offense any more than your guys. But I can see Ben having like 200 yards and 2 TDs. I can see that. I could see us shutting out Pittsburgh. I really could. I could see us shutting them out and just humiliating him in his last game.
It'd be nice.
You know,
Freiermuth running around and Claypool running around. It'd
be nice.
It depends on what the defense looks like this week. And I mean, I have no reason to believe that they're not going to look really good. I mean, and if you look at the secondary last week, I mean, Rodgers got some throws in on our guys, but they were rarely Greedy and Denzel were rarely in bad positions. They were just really nice plays that were made either by Devonta Adams or just, you know, the greatness that is Aaron Rodgers. I mean, there was nothing really that I can't look at any plays that occurred last week that you could say, oh, you know, he was, you know, beat horribly. They played well. It's just, you know, sometimes, you know, those guys make plays that are just a little bit better. And that's what makes football. That's what makes football so great. And, you know, we'd be remiss if we didn't say, you know, rest in peace to John Madden. You know, that I know for me that was my childhood. Like I cut my teeth on football listening to John Madden and Pat Summerall, and I remember getting the John Madden game for the PC before there was, you know, a Sega or a Nintendo, and I mean, just learning the plays. I mean, those were real. The plays that are on John Madden football are real life playbook plays like that. Those are NFL plays. So you really learn the game that way. You know, it's sad to see.
Yeah. I mean, and it was like sudden, apparently. It was like 85, you know, I wonder if it was, you know, COVID related somehow or whatnot. But I mean, it seems like these guys that are all dropping like instantly, there's always some cloud of suspicion that goes around that.
It's almost like he waited for that show to come out on him. And then he was like, all right, I can go.
Yeah. I mean, I played Madden growing up, you know, basically on Sega is really when on PC, I played a game called Front Page Sports Football. Do you remember that one?
I do.
So I played Front Page Sports, and then they came out with that was unlicensed, and then they got the NFLPA license, and they put Barry Sanders on the cover of it.
Yep, I remember that.
Was Front Page Sports Pro for the 486 days. Yeah. And that was awesome because you could literally draw up your own plays with your, you know, like even the blocking schemes and stuff. Like it was really in depth.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And then it just wasn't powerful enough. I think the consoles just had a little bit more optimization when it came down to how you're playing, but played a lot of Sega. Yeah. I before my Madden days, I played the Joe Montana Sports Talk football.
Yeah, Joe Montana football.
Joe Montana, which is a horrible game.
Yeah, John Elway had a football game.
John Elway's quarterback.
Yeah.
With the reverse ply. You remember that? You remember that?
Oh yeah.
And then, you know, before that was for me, I mean, I think the Madden games have been fine, but I mean, I will never. I mean, it's always the Tecmo Bowl and then
Oh yeah, that was
Super Tech. Did I ever tell you about my Super Tecmo Bowl thing?
I don't think so.
So, I had asked my dad. I asked my parents, or I asked my dad. I was like, "Hey, I really want this game, because I've been getting like Nintendo Power and all that stuff." And I was like, "Hey, I really want this game. I think this is gonna be the one." And and he was actually up in New York for like a some sort of meeting, and he went to the big toy store that's up there. It shut down.
The old FAO Schwartz.
Yes.
Yeah.
He went up there and he stopped by and they had a copy of it. And this was like before it went really big, it blew up.
Yeah.
And so I was like the only kid in my town who had the game.
Nice.
And I played the hell out of it. And it's just been a classic. And then it was really difficult to find. And yeah, it was just a classic game. But I loved that game. And unfortunately, they didn't have Bernie in it because he was Browns. He was QB Browns because he had, I don't know what it was. He just wouldn't play nice with the. I think he started the NFL quarterback club with like some other guys, and they were like,
yes,
they kicked him out of the NFLPA because of it.
That was a big thing. I remember that now. That's exactly what went on.
Yeah, QB Browns, but he was in the original Tecmo Bowl as Kozar. But then they came out with the NFL quarterback club, which is like, it was just funny. And then they those guys are all kind of got old and they're like, yeah, we don't want to keep doing this. Let's just join the PA.
Yep.
Or the PA bought the quarterback club or something. It was like something like that happened.
Yeah.
But all right, guys. Well, we got to get out of here.
Hey, we didn't. Good thing your dad wasn't listening. We totally avoided the PFFs tonight. The only thing I can say about the PFF is Bitonio at left tackle was phenomenal again. But
I'm telling you, I really think that there's going to be conversation around about Bitonio staying at left tackle and moving Jed to right, and then drafting a guard. It's a lot easier to draft a productive guard than it is to draft a productive left tackle.
Yeah.
And if we have a guy who's like can do it, they might have to adjust his pay maybe a little bit to be more in line with that, with the tackle position versus the guard. Maybe, I don't know, but so far so good. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, guys. Well, thank you very much. Thank you to Michael and Zeka for the super chats today. Thank you very much for anybody who haven't subscribed. We're getting closer and closer to that goal. Please, one more time, I want to put in the chat the GoFundMe for Mike McFadden.
If you guys can, definitely, it's definitely something that is, it'll be very, very, very helpful for him.
Yeah, I'm trying to put it into chat here. Boom, there you go. Help the guy out. And thank you very much for everybody. Wolfstam, Shoot the Thrill, Ryan Burlow, Connor King. Who else we got in? Beast Grills. Ray.
Connor's in here.
Yeah, Jackie 5. I've Gotta showed up. All right. Max Nikolenko was in the house for a while. Who else we got in here? Who else?
Wolfstan. I don't know if you said him.
Wolfstan, yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us on this Wednesday. Appreciate you all. And we'll see you Monday late afternoon.
Sounds good.
All right. Go Browns.
Go Browns.